Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit BetterHelp.com/positive to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/positive.
We made USAA Insurance to help you save. Take advantage of discounts when you cover your home and your ride. Discover how we're helping members save at USAA.com/bundle. USAA. Restrictions apply.
Jacob Albrocht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily on KFH. It's Albrocht and Castor. Glad to be with you here today on the program. Tommy, how was Florida? Tommy was gone last week. Just, soaking up the sun, enjoying life. Everything, I'm sure, went perfectly and according to plan.
I think everything was pretty much good. It was a trip. It was the first time we had been away from our son for that long a time. Like, he stayed with the grandparents. We kind of had a little bit of a mom and dad getaway. We're having another baby in June, and so it was kind of like a, I guess they call it a baby moon, I think is what the nice term is for what we did. But yeah, we went to Destin, Florida for a week. The weather was actually really good. We had like one day of rain, but other than that, it was perfect. And I'm the kind of vacation guy. I think we talked about it before. You and I are a little bit different. Like, I just want to sit on the beach all day long and do nothing every day. And I know for you, it's kind of like, let's go and do something.
That's good for me for about 10 minutes. And then I'm over.
No, I did it all day, like every day, and it was amazing, and I loved it, and I wanted nothing different than that.
Man, my brain just does not work that way. Like, I can't. It's my problem. It's like, I understand it. I have the problem. I'm not and I never knew I had this affliction. Like, I think the only way that I can, and this is even hard now because I don't really do it much anymore. The only way I can sort of just like sit and do that, where I'm not really doing anything else, is like playing a video game, which, a long time ago, that was something that was fun. Now I don't do that a ton. Maybe I do it with my kids because they're kind of into it, which has sort of been like, oh yeah, I remember why I like this so much, because I can venture. Reading a book, I can do that as well, and I need to do that more often. But most of the time, when I'm sitting still like that, all my brain does is say, well, what work could I be getting done right now? Like, what could I be doing right now? Like, which of the jobs could I go and attack something, whether it's TV or this show or the 2 stores at HDO? It's like, what could I do there? And if I sit on the beach like that, that's what happens. And so then I'm just like on the beach checking emails. If I'm out doing something, it gets a little easier, right? Like, if I'm actively doing something, I don't get those idle hands as much. It's funny, we've had visitors here last 3 weeks. We had my in-laws and then my parents and then some friends this past weekend. So, like, my Hank Hill has been itching a little bit. So yesterday we got people out and 30 bags of mulch, and like, I just can't be like, all right, now let's calm, let's relax. No, I was like, all right, let's go get all this other stuff done. So I'm happy for you on the beach. If you're watching our video stream right now, it's pretty clear which one of us has been sitting on the beach for a week and which one of us has not. But look, I've had my first like 2 sunburns already this year. But it doesn't work for me that way. Like, why am I not bronzed like Tommy right now?
I was really glad that I actually got a sunburn a few weeks ago, and I got the first one out of the way. That way I could be ready for the Florida trip, because I had this thought in the back of my mind, like, if my first sunburn of the year is in Florida, it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a bad one. I'm going to be in pain for a while. You get that first one out of the way, and you peel and you do all of that, then you're pretty good, at least I am, for the rest of the summer. Like, I'll get sunburn, but it won't be nearly as bad as that very first one. I'm glad I got it out of the way here on one of those like nice Saturday afternoons we had a while back. And then I was able to actually kind of enjoy Florida and not really worry about, having 3rd-degree burns all over my body.
Yeah, and look, wear sunscreen, right? That's not this time of the year is pretty hard with sunscreen because it doesn't feel like the time of year you should have to do it. Like in the summertime when you're hot and sweaty, it's just like a foregone conclusion, right? Like you just have to, douse it up in sunscreen when you go. It doesn't feel like it should be that way in the spring, and so I always pay the price in the spring because it's like, I was just out at soccer games for 3 hours and I didn't put on any sunscreen, and then I'm fried. And that's happened, I think, at least twice now already this year. NBA playoffs in full swing. We are on now to the second round. We finished up yesterday with the Warriors and Kings. And, Steph Curry does Steph Curry things, and it's awesome. 50 points on the way to getting the win and setting up a rematch with LeBron James. And you've got this storyline developing. And, man, I love it. I think – and no offense to the Kings, because I think their story is cool, and I hope their arrow stays pointed up. I do have money on the Warriors, so there's that angle of it. But I am really happy that we get Steph, LeBron at this, I don't even want to call it the twilight of their careers, but that's what it sort of is. I don't want to call it that because they're both still so good. But we get it again, right? And that is a really awesome thing, in my opinion, to have going. You get a Heat-Knicks series that has some history, right? And here come the Heat again with a Game 1 win as the 8th seed. Bring that on. And then tonight we get the start of the 76ers-Celtics series, which for a lot of people is the NBA Finals. And then you get the Suns-Nuggets, and the Nuggets just keep quietly winning as the 1 seed that nobody's talking about. But here we go, Tommy. NBA playoffs now, like this is go time. This is where they're really good. I like all of these series, and I think they're all really interesting.
I don't know. I was really, really, really hoping that Sacramento could get it done.
I know.
Nothing at all against Golden State. Like, what they've been able to do over the course of that dynasty. And, Steph Curry has got to be probably top 10 of all-time greatest NBA players.
I think that's
remarkable.
Fair. Yeah.
Remarkable, 50 points in Game 7, and you kind of had an idea that might happen. And there was another game earlier in the series when the Kings were up, and we talked about, well, this is probably going to be a Steph Curry game where he's going to be able to come in and take over, and he did, and then he took over Game 7. It's predictable. I get it. I understand the way that Golden State is. I understand Warriors basketball. I was ready for the Kings to try to take him down and move on and maybe be done with that storyline a little bit, or at least like have it be done for this season. But that's not the case. And I get Steph Curry and a heroic effort from him in Game 7 to move the Warriors on. And here we go. We've got Warriors-Lakers. We've got 38-year-old LeBron James and 35-year-old Steph Curry going at each other. So that storyline will be fun. It'll be fun to watch. But man, I was hoping the Kings could get it done.
But it's a different storyline, I think, really for both of those guys. And I know they're two different things, but they each have championships, right? Like where they currently are. But I think it's two totally different storylines now than what I don't want to say grew up with, but what we've had lately, right? Like now you have LeBron James in this Lakers team where this to me sort of feels like when like Cleveland, early Cleveland LeBron, when the team around him wasn't spectacular. Now they have Anthony Davis there, but he's I don't even know that you'd still call him a star player. Just based on availability.
He can't stay on the court. I mean, he's
that's
what
I mean.
Shea out there.
So you've got LeBron who's shouldered the load, and you've got throwback Warriors the last couple of years, right? Because you had the beginning Warriors, the Splash Brothers. Then you threw Kevin Durant in the mix, and nobody was ever going to beat them healthy. And now Durant's gone, which is a part of another nice story, by the way. But now you've got like the old school Warriors. So you almost have, it's like old school Warriors and old school LeBron going head to head in this series with, a player that's in the mix to be wherever you would rank him, anywhere from like number 1 to number 5 in LeBron. And I think top 10 is fair for Curry based on the impact on the game that he's had. Like, I don't know if you took like an all-player, all-time NBA draft, if Steph Curry's going in the top 10, but when you consider what he's done and the impact on the game he's had, he absolutely would be there. So I'm with you on that. But you don't get that often. And you don't get it when it's got a nostalgic factor right now, like it does with LeBron versus the Warriors. It has that nostalgia to it. And I just, like, what a nice, way to really lock into the NBA playoffs if you didn't in the first round, which I think a lot of people and most people did because we had some good basketball in the first round. But I think we're going to get great basketball all the way through with these teams remaining. I think, if you didn't believe it in the first round, you believe it now. Like, any of these teams are capable of winning a title. Even Miami, who proved that they can go out and beat everybody's favorite. So I don't know how you don't consider them a team right now that could go win the NBA title. I mean, you have to. They won game 1 against the Knicks and they just beat the Bucks. How could you not say Miami could win a title? Nobody's that great that they could not overcome. So it's perfect. Like, this is a
playoff
perfect
Jimmy
way.
Butler. Playoff Jimmy Butler. I mean, give me a break.
Man.
Like, the guy was
Killer.
phenomenal. I mean, he looks
He's
like
a
the
killer.
best player in basketball when the playoffs come around. But going back to the topic about the Lakers and the Warriors and LeBron and Steph, to me, and I don't know if this is an unfair comparison, and you tell me if you think it is. I think that when you're going to watch a series that's got LeBron taking on Steph Curry, it reminds me at least a little bit of the Lakers-Celtics finals. Not the early ones, but when Magic and Bird were a little bit older in their careers, like late 80s kind of, where they were kind of at the tail end of what they were doing, but they were still battling back and forth, and you had Magic and Bird in the finals. That's kind of what this reminds me of a little bit with LeBron and Steph. Like, they're different types of players, obviously, but just their impact, they're legends, they're icons, and they're going to be battling it out again. And so to me, I think you can kind of draw that comparison. I don't know if that's unfair or not, but that's kind of where I put it.
Yeah, I didn't that rivalry existed in my lifetime, certainly, but I was too young to truly appreciate it. There have been great basketball rivalries over the years. These two, head to head are probably as good as we've had in our, close to 40 years of, life. I don't know that we truly appreciate it now. And maybe, I think younger people probably do. I think younger people probably do appreciate it because pretty much, like, if you ask anybody, I don't know, under the age of 30, certainly, maybe even a little bit older, like, who are their favorite players all time? I would think like 80 to 90% of those people are going to say one of the two of LeBron or Steph, right? Like, these have been the two guys of this generation. Absolutely they have. And so that appeal is there. And then, like, LeBron's the same age as me. Like, I remember LeBron going up and, like, I started college when he should have started college and all of these things. So when I think about, like, the things he's still able to do in the career he's had, and Steph's just a little bit under that, like, I feel nostalgic about it now. I think certainly we will, in retrospect, 5-10 years from now, depending on how long these guys play. So it's good. Like, this is going to be the series to watch. And I'm not saying, again, I put money on the Warriors. I'm not even saying, like, the winner of this series is going to win the title. I don't think that I believe that. But I think it'll be the series to watch. Because I think what we'll see is LeBron and Steph feed off of each other. We're going to, I would imagine at points in this series, see Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis remind us why they're borderline, Hall of Fame caliber players. I'm not saying I think they should get in or will be in or anything like that, but just like their ability. And it's going to add to the intrigue. And, which night does which guy show up? Can LeBron and Steph, can they go 7 games of that high intensity still at this portion of their career? I don't know, but I cannot wait to find out. I mean, I love it. It's to me, again, I'm not saying I think this is going to be the series that produces the NBA champion. I think it could be, but I think of the series that are all probably going to be really good, this is the one with the most intrigue. And it's star power. And the NBA has always been about star power. And it is right now. And despite all the other stars playing and all the other games that are going on right now, and there are a ton of them, this is the one that we're all going to have our eyes on, right? LeBron and Steph. I mean, say what you want. You can admit it or not. but it's the one you're going to be paying attention to.
And isn't it great that we're in a scenario right now with the teams that are remaining where, like you mentioned, any one of them conceivably could win the NBA title?
Absolutely.
I think that's been my biggest gripe with the NBA in the playoffs, at least for a long time, is that for a while it was a foregone conclusion who was going to win the championship year in and year out. Like, you knew it was going to be the Warriors, right? Like, they had that dynasty forever, and Brooklyn tried to replicate it. There were teams that were trying to do what the Warriors did. They couldn't do it because it's kind of a once in a lifetime situation where you have that dynasty stay together for as long as they did. It was a foregone conclusion. Now you've got kind of a wide open situation where there are a lot of teams out there, that could potentially go all the way. I don't know if I think the Nuggets could go all the way, but man, they're fun to watch with Jokic and Christian Brown, and they're fun. The Knicks and Heat storyline is fun. Like, there are some fun storylines there where really any team could conceivably come in and win a championship.
Well, we had a lot of Lakers, a lot of Spurs, and a lot of Warriors, right? And, those weren't always no doubt about it, but a lot of them were.
You pretty much knew. You pretty much had a good idea.
The only flaw in the Warriors' armor was Cleveland, and then Durant got there, and it was like, nobody's going to beat these teams. And then until the injury happened, and then we got the cool Toronto storyline. But the last 3 years, Tommy, Lakers in the COVID year, then the Bucks, and then the Warriors last year, it's been unpredictable for a handful of years now, and it's continuing. I love that. The super team thing isn't working anymore. It's not working for teams. It doesn't. You got to have star power, but the collection of trying to just take random superstars and plop them in together is gone, and that's good for basketball. So I'm looking forward to it. That series won't start because they just played yesterday's. But tonight you get 76ers and Celtics in Game 1. All bets are off, I think, in that series. And then you get Suns Nuggets again. And look, I think Kevin Durant and the Suns have got to feel a little bit of desperation here with the Nuggets. I know the Nuggets are 1 seed at home, but I mean, the Nuggets are better than people are giving them credit for, and they've been here before. So that feels a little bit desperate for Phoenix, but I think that will also be a really good series. So that's what's up there tonight. Let's give away our other prize here today as we go into break. Then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the NFL draft. You've got the Win Surge, and you can get vouchers. We'll give away a 4-pack. The cool thing about the vouchers is you get to just sort of pick the game you want to go to. So we've got those. We'll give them away. 869-1240. You can get that 4-pack of vouchers to a Win Surge game of your choice, courtesy of Sports Daily and KFH. Tommy and I will be back. More Sports Daily right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily on KFH. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor here with you. Tommy, the NFL, before the draft, something we haven't had a lot of time to talk about in great detail, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson gets his deal, ultimately, and it played out, I think, while there was a lot of drama involved in it, it played out in a really kind of the way that it should have. You've got Jacob Albrock and Tommy Castor here at Sports Daily. We'll get into Lamar Jackson now. IHOP hotline if you want to chime in on that, by the way, 869-1240. I think that when the dust settles on this was all like a very natural way for this to go, right? Lamar wanted the Deshaun Watson deal. The market said no, right? Very quickly and very clearly said no. Lamar was like, all right, well then just trade me. Like, this isn't going to work. The Jalen Hurts deal gets done, furthering the Ravens case of the market is not there, Lamar. That's not the market. That's an outlier. And then so when the Jalen Hurts deal gets done, Lamar comes back and I think gets 1% more or something guaranteed than Hurts got in a very similar deal. So he just slightly outdoes it. And I want to say, like, probably a pretty big shout out to both parties here, because the Ravens could have overreacted to Lamar trying to play the market and, and obviously having his feelings hurt. It was almost like they were like, we get it. Like, we love Lamar. We get where and why he's feeling this way. And we're just going to continue with our plan of him being our quarterback. And they let this all play out. They let Lamar test the waters. They let all of these things happen. And then when Lamar learned, like, that's not where it is, they were absolutely right there ready for him to return. And on Lamar Jackson's side of it, he was willing to just basically swallow his pride and say, you know what, this is the best spot for me, and I'm going to come back. And I think that, like, all things considered and all the drama, both sides deserve a little bit of credit for doing the deal that has always made the most sense. Like, it's always made the most sense for Lamar Jackson to stay with the Ravens. The deal gets done. He becomes the top guy. The Ravens are able to relatively peacefully establish that that's not the market. Deshaun Watson's not the market, and we get the deal done. And I think it's good for football.
You're giving both sides way too much credit, I think. I don't think either side really deserves much credit at all. This was the only choice. It was so I'm not going to give them credit for making the only choice. Lamar Jackson wasn't going anywhere else. Nobody else was willing to sign him for what he wanted. Nobody else was willing to trade for him for what the Ravens wanted. And, so I think that you've got two sides here that were at a stalemate for a long time. Neither side was willing to budge. Lamar Jackson didn't have an agent and was very, very adamant about what he thought that he deserved. And the Ravens were very, very adamant that they weren't going to pay that. I get that. I get both sides of the positions that they were on. But you had this stalemate where finally, a few hours before the draft, I think both sides were like, well, I guess this is really the only option. I mean, the only other option for Lamar Jackson would have been for him to set out this coming season. And that wasn't going to happen, option. Right? So I'm not willing to give them credit for that because the only other option is worse. The only other option is sit out for the year, and that doesn't do either side any good. So they just did what really was the common sense move and should have been done a long time ago.
But that other option totally existed, though. Right? Like, it absolutely existed. That was another option. That was a much worse case scenario. And even when they were both dug in so hard, the fact that it didn't have to get to that point is where I think they deserve credit. Just look at the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. You got drama over who wouldn't answer whose phone call, and everybody's feelings.
Stupid.
Everybody's feelings were hurt, right? Like, everybody had hurt feelings and scorn and all of these things in that regard. With the Ravens and Lamar, and hang with us, Mark, on the IHOP hotline. We'll get to you in just a second. With all that happened, both sides were able to be like, you know what? Lamar, we still love you. We've been saying that from the beginning. And Lamar to say, basically to say, I was wrong, right? He still got to be the top guy, but he didn't get what he wanted. And they were able to figure it out. Like that, I think they do deserve credit because we see too often in the NFL, feelings do get hurt and sides dig in and they light it up and just torch things. And I think a holdout was very real possibility. Let's go to Mark on the IHOP hotline. Mark, what's on your mind? Welcome into Sports Daily.
Good morning, guys. I think the Ravens folded a little bit. I'm glad he ended up going back to the Ravens, but I think they folded a little bit because, I mean, when I look at Lamar and Jalen Hurts, who would you rather have?
Me personally? I'd rather have Lamar.
Yeah. Really? Over Hurts?
Yeah.
Well, okay, fair enough. But, I mean, I think what these guys, when they angle these big money deals for the quarterbacks, it's going to take them a long time to figure out what Brady figured out a long time ago. And even now, Mahomes, to a certain extent, forgo some of the money, keep the talent good around you, be okay with being the face of the team, and the money will come from different places, endorsements or sports deals or whatever. And I just think these guys that are landing these mega bucks contracts are going to feel the effects of that. Of course, they may not care. They got their money in the bank. I get that. But I think their team is going to suffer as a result of that. I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Thanks for taking my call.
I'm with you, Mark. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think that, like, in that situation, between Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, I think I'd rather have Jalen Hurts right now, right this second, only because at least Jalen Hurts has taken his team to a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson hasn't done that yet. And again, he's won an MVP. He's a great talent. He has all of these physical attributes, but he hasn't taken his team to that next level, and Jalen Hurts
right,
has.
because he has to go through the AFC, though. That's not fair either, because look at what's been in the AFC in his way. Jalen Hurts' season last year was fantastic. I love Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is far better, than I thought he would be as a pro. And even despite the fact that he plays for the Eagles, I hope he stays that way. But I think sometimes, because Lamar Jackson's missed a little bit of time, not a ton of time, by the way, in the last 2 years. He's missed 4 games in each of the 2 years. But I think people sometimes forget how incredible he has been in his career. Not just the MVP season, which was obviously incredible, but as a runner, he's a little bit better of a runner than Hurts. Is he as good a passer? Hurts really impressed me with his passing last year, but we've just seen it from Lamar for more years, and they're basically the same age, right? If Hurts continues it, then obviously that's one thing. But we've seen this from Lamar outside of the games that he's missed in the last couple of years. That's what he's been forever. He's proven, man. Like he is who he is. And by the way, he's dealt with a lot of injuries, not just with himself, but think about some of these Ravens teams and all the running backs that they've had injured. And they've dealt with a lot of adversity within seasons, and he still gives them a chance. What I think about Lamar when I say I'd rather have him is through what we've seen in their careers so far, I think Lamar Jackson is far more capable of shouldering the load on his own if need be. We haven't seen that from Jalen Hurts. Everything went perfectly for the Eagles last year. Everybody was healthy all year. Everything worked out. It was a great, perfect season for them. Let's see if he can keep doing it, and maybe he can. And if he does it for 2 or 3 more years, my opinion may change. But right now, Lamar Jackson has done it over a long period of time. And he's done it at a young age, and there is upside still in his game. The one thing, again, but you can't say that you're worried about Lamar slowing down. He's like a year older than Hurts.
I'm not worried about Lamar slowing down. I'm not worried about declining physical attributes at all from Lamar Jackson. My only thing is that if you're judging it, and I think I am, and I think you have to view it through this lens of taking a team all the way, Jalen Hurts has done that, and Lamar Jackson has not. And Lamar Jackson has had more opportunities to do so. Yeah, it's a more difficult conference. There's no doubt about that. The quarterbacks that he's got to play against in that conference with Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Herbert, I get it. Now Rodgers, I understand all of that. But man, the window of opportunity for quarterbacks, and especially mobile quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, it's a little bit shorter, you would think, than the window of opportunity for more traditional quarterbacks. And so I'm not saying he's old.
But they both fit that mold, right? They're both that mold.
Yeah, right.
So Lamar Jackson has a higher career passer rating. Lamar Jackson has an MVP. And Jalen Hurts was real close to getting an MVP last year. He was right there in the conversation. But again, Super Bowls are not all equitable to the quarterback's impact. I've got to try to separate it because I think Lamar Jackson's had a tougher road.
But guaranteed money is. And so I know that, of course, Deshaun Watson is an outlier. That contract was ridiculous, and we've talked about that for a long time.
And
but
he's not as good as either one of these guys either,
right.
By the way.
The major sticking point for Lamar this entire time was guaranteed money, right? That was the number one reason why Lamar Jackson was unhappy with the Ravens, was the lack of guaranteed money, and he thought he deserved more. Okay, win a Super Bowl, and you'll get more guaranteed money. Get them all the way, you'll get more guaranteed money.
Maybe.
Right? You would think, right? I mean,
he got there. Again, this is why back to the original point of I think both sides deserve a lot of credit. It's because Lamar wanted that, wasn't going to get that, and was still willing to say, you know what? I was wrong. Let's get a deal done. That doesn't always happen. And I think that, and when I say deserves credit, it deserves credit because now we get to have Lamar Jackson not sit out a year, and the Ravens don't have to go through this awkward rebuilding, and think about how often we listened to Deshaun Watson want out of Houston for what, 2 years? We've dealt with this Aaron Rodgers drama for like 5 years, it feels like.
I am not willing to give Lamar Jackson or the Ravens a ton of credit for getting this done, because basically what you're doing, what you're saying, is you're willing to give them a lot of credit for not doing something stupid that they shouldn't have done in the first place, right?
But that happens all the time in the NFL.
They don't deserve credit for that. Like, they did what they should have been doing all along. They got a deal done that should have been done months ago. They don't deserve credit for that. They got the only common sense deal done that they should have gotten done, and they did. So good for them, but I'm not willing to throw them a parade in honor of getting a deal with Lamar Jackson done.
I didn't say throw them a parade. I said give them credit for doing what they should have done. It's exactly what I said. They deserve credit for doing, because it happens all the time that teams don't do what should have been done. And then you have a mess on both sides. And so, like, this one, there was a moment there where this one felt like it was going to go sideways like that. It did. And, Mark, and we appreciate the call, Mark, thinks that the Ravens caved a little bit. I don't think the Ravens caved at all. Lamar Jackson caved. Lamar Jackson wanted the guaranteed money fully. Again, that's what we perceive, right? He never outwardly said that. But he didn't get it. And so the Ravens, again, and, I think John Harbaugh deserves definitely credit, because he continuously said absolutely the right things. And it was just like, nope, we expect him to be our quarterback and we want him to be here, right? Even though that was probably not the, behind the scenes was probably not his sentiment, they kept that, because now what happens is you get the deal done, and I don't feel like, as dramatic as that I think probably was, it doesn't feel like now there's any animosity, right? Like, I don't worry about that lingering or anything like that. Like, it's just, okay, we're there. We're there where we should have been, yes, but we got where we should have been, and it could have been way worse than that. And the Ravens now extend a window, and they went out and they drafted aggressively for him, and they've been aggressive. They go out and they get Odell Beckham Jr., right? And, they're doing all of these things to surround, and we knew it, right? We knew when they signed Odell Beckham Jr. that it was like, he's going to come back here. Like, the Ravens are sort of pushing him in, saying he's going to be back here. So they go get Zay Flowers, right? So now they've added 2 wide receivers and 2 pretty dynamic, different wide receivers to go with that offense, that if it could ever get healthy at running back, like, the Ravens are absolutely a contender now again. And I'm just glad for it, because I really enjoy watching Lamar Jackson play football. And I'm glad that we get to continue to watch him play football in what I think, no matter what, is the best place for him to succeed. They are changing offensive coordinators, which will be interesting to watch. But we'll get the best version of Lamar in Baltimore, and the best version of Lamar is awesome for football.
I'm glad. And I guess one area where I am willing to give them a little bit of credit is I'm glad that they got it done before the draft.
They had to.
Right. But there was a scenario where they wouldn't have,
it's
right?
It's going to be a mess, though, if they did.
They would have went through that draft not knowing who their quarterback was, and would they have drafted a quarterback early? I have no idea. But then you've got all this drama where Lamar still doesn't have a team, and now there might be another quarterback coming in that the Ravens felt like they had to draft. Like, there would have been a lot of drama had that not gotten done before the draft. So I am willing. It should have been done a long time ago. But at least I am willing that they got it done. Maybe it was like, I think it was announced 2 hours before the draft was scheduled to kick off. I'm glad they got it done before then. So I'm willing to give them a little bit of credit for that.
Boy, I watched that one and the Rodgers one at the same time. And now the drama, and it's not, Rodgers isn't inviting it, the media is when they ask him questions, but he absolutely deserves the questions because he keeps fueling it, because I think he just likes messing with people. But, like the who answered the phone stuff, and like, that's ridiculous. That's unnecessary. That's all of those things. I didn't think anything about Ravens-Jackson negotiations were ever ridiculous. I didn't think any of them were ever unnecessary. I thought it was very logical
was that
what both
moment.
sides
Don't
wanted.
Forget, there was that time that Jackson, I think, tweeted
he wanted
and
to
was
trade.
upset, and it was right before the winter meetings, I think, happened, and So, of course, poor John Harbaugh was bombarded with media
Yep.
like 30 seconds after Jackson
And he's a rock star.
tweeted that. It was his availability. Like, there was a little bit of drama. Let's not forget about that.
No, I'm not saying there wasn't drama. Sorry. I think that there was more. It was more professional drama because Lamar at that time was trying to leverage, right? Like he did that to try to leverage the Ravens to do something because at that time he probably thought there were other teams that would give him that kind of contract. I think it's once he learned that teams were not willing to give him a guarantee, or anybody, quite frankly, a guaranteed deal like that. That had to have been the point where you're like, huh. But it was really the Hurts deal, right? It was like, because we know what happens with NFL quarterbacks, right? The market resets and the market resets and the market resets, and it will again now with Burrow and and Herbert and all these guys. But it was when the Hurts deal got done, and you can clearly see the market is telling you for a very comparable player with a very comparable trajectory and career so far, that this is what the market is. You've got to take Deshaun Watson and throw it out the window. And I think that was the point where Lamar was willing and able to say, damn, I was wrong. Let's take, give me one more dollar than Jalen Hurts and we'll get this deal done. And they did, and it's fine. And he's a Raven, which is good for football. And I'm glad that happened. I don't know what they would have done. I don't know what they would have done if it didn't get done before the draft. My gut says with that team and that franchise, they probably would have just rolled with like Huntley and gone that way this year. I don't know that they would have gone out and got anybody.
I think they would have, because that again would have put a little bit more pressure on Lamar. Like that's a negotiating.
Yeah,
tactic,
sorry.
right?
I mean like go spend a first round pick and go get one of the top guys.
Yeah.
Who did you think had the best draft?
Man, I think at the very top, the Texans clearly, right? I mean,
Really?
how aggressive they were at the beginning.
I think
to
they
draft
traded
Stroud,
too much to get Anderson,
and then
I
trade to
can't
get
give
Anderson.
them that. Yeah, I thought they gave up too
But the
much.
fact that they've got like two cornerstones on both sides of the ball now
I know.
potentially, like, and this is a team that, don't forget, and this was a big point of conversation on the different networks, during the draft, how close the Texans were to competing last season. Like they took Kansas City to overtime,
Yep.
right? Remember that?
Yep,
Remember
I
we
do.
talked about it after that game.
Yeah,
like, that
if
was
Stroud's
not
good, it's
right?
weird because if Stroud's good, the Anderson pick is a home run.
Yeah.
But if Stroud's not good,
Right,
they're
right.
going to regret giving up
Yeah.
that draft capital. That's an interesting one. I mean, I sit here and still shake my head at, like, how in the world did football let the Eagles get Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith?
Yeah.
How
they had
did-
a great draft too.
How did football let that happen? I don't even know about the rest of their draft. I just imagine
They're all
those
from
two
Georgia. They
guys-
basically drafted every player from Georgia.
Good luck with that pass rush, everybody. You can't let that happen. Like, you're going to hold the Chiefs back from adding a wide receiver weapon. How do you not hold the Eagles back? Like, let's get some collusion here. You can't let them have that many pass rushers. 869-1240. We'll continue to roll forward on Sports Daily. Congratulations to Herb and Corey for winning our giveaways today. We'll do more of that throughout the week here. Glad to be here with you. 869-1240 is the IHOP hotline. Tommy and I are also on the air here on a video stream you can find on the KFH Facebook page, KFH YouTube page, and Sports Daily Twitter page. We'll be back. Last full segment of Sports Daily coming right up.
We're all looking to make more sustainable choices, but making your own shoes out of natural materials could pose a few challenges. At the Allbirds Innovation Lab, they're doing all the sciencey stuff like research and testing to create shoes from natural materials, like leather made from plants, eucalyptus tree fiber, and sugarcane. It's not rocket science, it's shoe science. Allbirds is making shoes better than natural. They're super natural. Find your perfect pair at allbirds.com today. That's ALLBIRDS.com.
To the Sports Talk.
All right, let's do this thing. Go!
Sports Daily is on KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Glad to have you here. It is Sports Daily. It's Jacob Albrocht and Tommy Castor. We are back with you on the air IHOP hotline open, 869-1240 for our last segment here before we get you the What's on Tap in our next segment. And you can find us on our video stream, Facebook, KFH, YouTube, KFH, Twitter, Sports Daily page. Glad to be here. We've got, I've upgraded a little bit, Tommy, here to the room. The visuals behind, it's been a slow work in progress. I've decided to go with a kids art motif and some of the projects for the kids that they've done. We still got Macho Man back there, but I'm working on it. It's coming along a little nicely. Yours probably a little more organized than mine is, but it is what it is. You put me in charge of decorating, this is kind of what you get. It's going to feel like a college dorm room.
Right. I'm in my office. Like I'm actually at work. Like I'm not at home. And my home office would look a lot more similar to yours, I think, a little bit. I do have to point out, though, that I like the change, because I know at one point you were talking about like shadow boxes and like things like that on the wall. I like just the drawings from your kids. Now I'm assuming those are your kids, and those aren't your drawings, right?
Oh, I'm not that good at art. No, these are little paintings they've done, and I'll try and rotate some of those in and out. But I'm just gonna put a bunch of memorabilia up, and I don't know how to make that look good. And I don't know, like, I don't know how much people care about that stuff anyway. So I just went with like, you can see a picture that's my grandpa in the military. There's a Shocker basketball that was at a giveaway one time that I randomly won that was kind of fun. That's about as sportsy as I get here. And then you got Macho Man and a few paintings from the kids and, my big extended family picture. It's not like you can really see all that stuff anyway. It's just sort of in the background. I don't know if you can see it. So behind me is this thing here, and I've got, like, we talked about video games earlier. I've got like a Sega Dreamcast and a Sega Saturn, like these retro games that they're just there. Like they're not even hooked up to a TV right now. But that it just so happened to be what was in the piece of furniture that I moved behind me. It really is like I'm in a college dorm room right now.
It works, though. I mean, I like that aesthetic. I like that motif. I don't even know if those are the right words to use, but I'm making them up as I go along. I've got on the bookshelf behind me, I don't know if you can see, I've got like the Wichita flag, some pictures of my dogs, family. And then I have right there the World's Best Boss coffee mug from The Office that I did not buy myself. I'm not Michael Scott. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it myself. It was gifted to me, but I am a big fanatic of the TV show The Office, and so I've got that coffee mug right behind me.
The Office is great. I love The Office. I'm on a Modern Family rewatch right now, by the way. That's what I've been like watching on TV. When I watch that show, I always, for me it was like Seinfeld 1, and then it's always slotted right in there with like that and The Office, honestly. And as I'm rewatching it, my God, it's good. Like, it is so perfect. Like, it is. Like, those great shows just, like, reach perfection in what they're trying to do, and it's perfect, and it's amazing. Just like The Office was, just like Seinfeld was. It's right there.
I'm right there with you on 2 of the 3. I love Seinfeld. I love The Office. I like Modern Family, but I can't say I love Modern Family. I've never set and watched the entire series, and if it's on, I'll watch it. This is going to sound really, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. This is going to be bad. I'm kind of out on Eric Stone Street a little bit. And I like Eric Stone Street. I'm a little Eric Stone Streeted out. Like, I feel like everywhere I turn, there he is. If there's a K-State thing,
following
there he
Kansas
is.
City teams.
If there's a Chiefs thing, there he is. And I like him, and he's funny. He's hilarious. He was great in Modern Family. I could just use a little bit of a break from Eric Stone Street, just a little bit. Like, I don't every time I turn around, I don't want to see him, and that's kind of where it is right now.
Well, you're wrong.
Okay.
That's. I need you now, as you've become a dad, to go watch some Modern Family, and I think not just for Phil Dunphy, who's like the greatest stereotype dad of all time, but all the dads in that show, whether it's Eric Stone Street as a dad, whether it's Ed O'Neill, Al Bundy, right, as a dad, or All of them, literally all of them. And like, it's like this appreciation of the different ways to dad it up. I can't. Not very many things actually make me laugh out loud. I'm not an out loud laugher, like a quiet laugher. I get a hard time from my wife about that. She's like, what's happening? What is that over there? I'm like, well, I'm laughing. That show makes me laugh out loud. And so did The Office, and so did Seinfeld. And that's probably what elevates them to that stratosphere. Like, there are a lot of shows that I think are funny, but aren't making me actually, like, laugh genuinely out loud. All right, 869-1240. We're going to tell you what's on tap the rest of the day here on the network for us on KFH. Some good stuff coming, exciting stuff coming. If you're a Wichita State fan, we'll do that next.
We made USAA insurance for veterans like James. When he found out how much USAA was helping members save, he said,
"It's time to switch."
We'll help you find the right coverage at the right price. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for. Restrictions apply.